Hello and welcome. Tonight, the war of words between Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom and Bauchi Governor continues. Ortom accuses the Bauchi State Governor of terrorism and threats to his life. Freedom for the 53 passengers kidnapped from Niger State Transport Authority bus in Zungeru. They reunite with their families and recount their experiences. Court grants conditional bail to 14 persons arrested in connection with unsealing of Royal Spring Palm Hotel linked to former Governor Rochas Okorocha. And U.S. to hold candlelight ceremony for the victims of COVID-19 pandemic as deaths from the virus hit 500,000 mark in the country. Plus we'll have business, sports, and later on international news from our London studios.
On Business News tonight, Senate to meet Central Bank, Securities and Exchange Commission and the FinTech community on Tuesday over cryptocurrencies transaction.
And on sports news tonight, Nigeria's CAF Confederation Cup representatives Enyimba drawn in Group A of the 16-team competition.
And from Abuja, victim of police accidental discharge demands 200 million naira compensation over the amputation of his leg following gunshot injury.
The controversy over the farmer-herder crisis is brewing a war of words between the governors of Benue and Bauchi states. And the latest is coming from Governor Samuel Ortom, who is accusing his Bauchi state counterpart, Bala Mohammed, of being one of those threatening his life. Governor Ortom made the accusations at a media briefing today, accusing Governor Bala Mohammed of supporting foreign Fulani herdsmen who hold AK-47s. He went on to say that if anything happens to him, Governor Mohammed must be held responsible and nobody should be in doubt.
But the person that is most wrong is the governor of Benue State. Now, because a Fulani man is practicing the tradition of transhumance, pastoralism, he has been exposed to the vagaries of the forest, the animals, and now the cattle rustlers who carry guns, kill him and take away his commonwealth, that is the cows. He had no option but to carry AK-47.
It all began with what seemed to be a harmless comment by the governor of Bauchi State, Mr. Bala Mohammed, last week. But that statement sparked outrage, prompting a swift response from his Benue State counterpart. In his reaction, Governor Samuel Ortom said, the most shocking part of Governor Bala Mohammed's statement was where he defended herdsmen for bearing arms, saying they have no option than to carry AK-47 because the society and government are not protecting them. It was the same Governor Mohammed who once said on national television that the Fulani man is a global citizen and therefore does not need a visa to come to Nigeria, and that the forests belong to herdsmen. But in an attempt to clarify his position on herdsmen carrying guns as a means of self-defense, Governor Bala Mohammed says he wasn't in any way encouraging lawlessness or supporting the illegal use of firearms by the herdsmen or any other group.
Those carrying illegal AK-47, killing people, should be apprehended and killed. They should be dealt with within the confines of the law. What I said about the AK-47 carriage is an issue of protection, self-help. Not to say that I have legalized or there is any law that legalizes somebody to carry arms without authority or without any form of permission.
Governor Bala Mohammed should just come out and apologize to Nigerians.
Apparently not satisfied with Governor Mohammed's explanation, the Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom has accused his Bauchi State counterpart of acts of terrorism and insensitivity to the feelings of his people.
And if he apologizes, it will be appreciated. But to continue to argue is inflicting pains, especially on some of us that have been victims of these Fulani herdsmen. And we're thinking that he's part of the conspiracy to wipe some people away, including Benue State. And this is not correct. And I want to think that with what he said and what those herdsmen wrote to me that they were going to assassinate me, Bala Mohammed is also part of it with what he had said. And if anything happens to me, I don't want anybody to be in doubt. Bala Mohammed should be held responsible.
All things considered, there is the need for the two governors to live up to the calling of their offices by ensuring that the matter does not escalate.
Meanwhile, the Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has a different view and says he will not join the bandwagon of states that have asked herdsmen to vacate their spaces. Governor Zulum, who is a professor of agriculture engineering, says the northeast region will instead harness the potential of livestock production to its advantage. He was speaking at an event organized by the Northeast Development Commission in Maiduguri, the state capital.
Transforming livestock centers by establishing livestock breeding centers in the state, as well as in the entire Northeast sub-region, will definitely reduce the problem of herders farmers conflict. Borno State alone has a total land mass of about 76,000 square kilometers. Together with other states of the Northeast, this region will provide vast agricultural, vast arable land for a greater part of the livestock farmers in Nigeria to stay in the Northeast, while other regions of the state, of the country, are trying to drive away the Fulanis and herders. There is a need for us to transform this sector. I'm also advocating for establishment of pasture production centers in the Northeast. This is also very...
Vocal Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi has been stressing the need for the government to engage armed bandits terrorizing parts of the country in dialogue to bring an end to the crisis. Sheikh Gumi, who spoke exclusively to Channels Television's political correspondent Sheung Okimbaloye in Kaduna, says Boko Haram insurgents may soon infiltrate killer herdsmen and bandits. He also spoke on the efforts to rescue those kidnapped from Government Science College, Kagara, in Niger State.
It's a complex issue that Nigerians need to pipe down, put cold brain and understand the issue. But I see the solution is very simple, but it's not military hardware. Anything but not military hardware.
What's the solution?
The solution is dialogue and teaching, because these people, they are acting with instincts, natural instincts, not with special knowledge. And they don't have any ambition or anything. When they don't have, what is the future? What do they look at? What do they want to achieve? They don't have that vision. They are talking about existence. Their livelihood is destroyed. Look at the example, the case, the latest case where they released a bus full of people. They were asking 500 million. Now they freed them with mere negotiation. They freed them free.
Nothing was paid? Nothing was paid.
Even one of the victim's father was calling me, thanking. You can ask the victims.
And you brokered this deal?
Yes, it's broken.
You brokered it?
In front of us, he said he's going to talk. He said he knows those who took the bus and he's going to talk with them. But for those who took the boys in the school, they are not sure of them. But he's still going to investigate who they are, and he's going to convince them to release them because there's a peace process going on now. Anytime they can be released, anytime, any minute. Since there's a peace process, so they're ready to lay down their arms, stop kidnapping, stop all the things they're doing.
Sheikh Gumi is able to trace these bandits to their hideouts and meet with them. Why is it difficult for the Nigerian intelligence community or the Nigerian military to be able to know where these bandits are?
They know.
They know?
They know where they are. They see them by aerial views. They have intelligence among them. I've met a herdsman I have met a Hartman who is part of the internal security. They all know. But the problem, I think now the military has learned its lesson. The first approach they had, when they go in and start killing, they realize it's the wrong way. And they realize they are producing a monster. So they are now very careful, watching and studying and seeing how they come about it. The only element now I'm adding value to it is that, look, don't just wait out, just don't wait and watch. Go in and negotiate. If the pressure is too much, I'm afraid they can be influenced by Boko Haram. And there we have seen the signs that Boko Harams want to infiltrate them.
And for the Sokoto State Governor, Aminu Tambuwal, Nigerians need to live in peace, irrespective of tribe, religion and regions. Governor Tambuwal made the comments today in Sokoto while assenting to the state Hisbah law passed by the State House of Assembly last week. He explains that the law is not in conflict with the Constitution of Nigeria, but an act to complement the efforts of the security forces. Governor Tambuwal also emphasized the need to accommodate one another and for citizens to respect the norms and traditions of their host communities.
Our country is great, but that our greatness can only be derived and showcased through our collective resolve to remain as one, law-abiding and peaceful people that believe in our collective humanity and our various abilities and endowments that can propel development of this country. So we're not coming up with a police that is here to discriminate against believers of other faith. No, we're coming up with an outfit that is to complement what the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has enshrined and provided for in terms of support to the agencies of security that are established and recognized by the Constitution.
And staying with security matters in the country, the Senate President Ahmed Lawan has given the assurance of improved security in rural areas in the next 2 months to protect farmers and allow businesses to thrive. The Senate President told State House correspondents that the National Assembly is prepared to provide full support regarding the approved funds from the excess crude account by the National Economic Council to tackle insecurity across the country. He made the comments after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House.
We had a very extensive discussion on the security of all parts of Nigeria and how we should go about improving the situation. We all have roles to play. Nobody would like to see the kind of thing that we experience in various parts of the country in the form of insecurity. As political leaders, we have responsibilities to our people, and we cannot shy away from that. We have to get our people secured. We have to secure the environment for them to earn their means of livelihood. We would like to see our farmers go back to farms before the rains start to come, the rainy season starts. NDDC should have transformed the Niger Delta into a better environment than what it has been. NDDC was created by a law of the National Assembly since 2000 or so. And we are talking about how many years now? We are talking about almost 2 decades. That should have given sufficient time, given the resources that were deployed into the NDDC. So we need to sanitize the NDDC and get the resources fully deployed in developing the area in the Niger Delta.
In part 2, after the break, Edo State government accuses former Governor Oshomole's administration of alleged fraud in the 30 billion naira Bini Storm Water Project. That's in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. War of words between Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom and Bauchi Governor continues. Ortom accuses the Bauchi State Governor of terrorism and threats to his life. Vocal Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi speaks exclusively to Channels Television, warns Boko Haram may infiltrate killer herdsmen and bandits, asks government to adopt dialogue to solve security challenge. Freedom for the 53 passengers kidnapped from the Niger State Transport Authority bus in Zungeru. They reunite with their families and recount their experiences. Court grants conditional bail to 14 persons arrested in connection with unsealing of Royal Spring Palm Hotel linked to former Governor Rochas Okorocha. And US to hold candlelight ceremony for the victims of the COVID-19 pandemic as deaths from the virus hits 500,000 mark in the country. Let's cross over to Abuja now, and here's Gloria Umezuke. Gloria.
Hello, Ijoma. It's been an emotional situation in Niger State as the 53 rescued passengers that were kidnapped by bandits reunite with their families today. Some of the victims have been recounting their ordeal in the hands of their abductors and are calling on the government to find lasting solution to the security challenges in the state. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Refreshed and dressed in new clothing, the rescued abductees are now ready to go home after medical checks have been carried out on them the previous day. The Chief of Staff to the Niger State Governor affirms that the rescue of the abductees was without any compromise.
It is the policy of the state government not to offer ransom, but of course we are dialoguing to see how we release them unconditionally, and that is what was achieved.
It's a mixed feeling here as family members and friends who at hand hug the rescued persons. Some of the victims who recall their experiences while in captivity share the story of how it all happened.
When they say we should park our car, immediately we park before we even come out, they start shooting. When they start shooting, at that time, even look at even my head, where the bullet just passed close my head.
We are approaching Zungeru Bridge. When we saw them, the Fulani headsmen would gone, more than 30. And immediately the driver saw them, he locked the door. They were telling him to open the door. He didn't open the door. They started shooting.
We also capture the mood in the homes of some of the rescued persons as they arrive. Their relatives are filled with tears of joy as they run to welcome them back home. At the government house, Governor Abubakar Bello received some members of the National Assembly, led by the Deputy Chief Whip, who commends the government for rescuing the abductees, just as Governor Abubakar Bello says those abducted from GSS Kagara will soon be rescued.
As we speak now, everything is being done, and I believe, hopefully, we should get some good news very soon.
There is no one single panacea you're providing to say, oh, this is the solution to it. But my understanding of the whole issue is that government at all levels, we are in Niger State, are doing their best to see first how they can understand the problem with a view to providing solution.
For now, the citizens are waiting to see how soon the rescue of the Kagara victims will happen. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Well, meanwhile, there was another abduction incident, this time in Rivers State, where gunmen abducted a lecturer with the University of Port Harcourt, Dr. Jones Ayuwo, and a first-class traditional ruler in the state. Dr. Ayuwo of the Department of Linguistics and Communication Studies was abducted last night along the Andoni Ogoni Road while returning from a function. 3 journalists with the state government-owned television who went for the coverage of the same event were also attacked with their valuables and cameras taken from them. Meanwhile, gunmen also stormed the palace of a first-class traditional ruler, Aaron Ikuru of Ikuru Town in Andoni local government area of the state, and whisked him away. These attacks come 2 weeks after the abduction of a female journalist with the Nigeria Television Authority in Rivers State. Meanwhile, a magistrate court in Owerri, the Imo State capital, has granted a bail condition of 5 million naira each and a surety in person of a traditional ruler or a member of his cabinet to the 14 people arraigned by the Imo State Commissioner of Police, Nasiru Mohammed. They were arraigned over a 6-count charge bordering on conspiracy, disobedience to lawful order, willing and unlawful destruction of the official seal of the Imo State government. Others are conducts capable of causing breach of peace, unlawful possession of firearms, and a defamatory action on social media against the governor of Imo State with intent to injure the reputation of the state government and person of the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma. Well, this is happening less than 24 hours after the Imo State Police Command invited former Governor of Imo State and Senator representing Imo West Senatorial District, Rochas Okorocha, for questioning following his alleged involvement and forceful entry into a property that was confiscated by the Imo State government a few days ago, alongside the arraigned persons. Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party is accusing the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, and former governor Rochas Okorocha of turning the state into a war zone. The Imo State chapter of the PDP said in a statement that the clash between the supporters of Governor Uzodinma and Senator Okorocha is already causing tension and apprehension in the state. The opposition party condemned the action, describing it as highly disgusting. The PDP adds that Imo State, which used to be the center and cynosure of public peace and orderliness, has turned into a jungle of terror, while hooliganism, rascality, thuggery and abuse of the dignity of human peace have become the order of the day. Well, staying with the courts, the arraignment of a former Minister of Aviation, Senator Stella Odua, by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, over alleged financial impropriety has been stalled again. At the resumed sitting of the court, the prosecutor, Dr. Hassan Liman, told the court that the commission has been unable to serve the charges of the 5th and 6th defendants, who are corporate bodies. Following the application for adjournment by the prosecutor, Justice Inyang Ekwo fixed the 19th of April 2021 for the arraignment. In a 25-count charge preferred against the former minister and 8 others, they are accused of fraud and diversion of funds through the operation of anonymous bank accounts. The Federal High Court in Lagos has granted permission to former Governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, to travel abroad for further medical treatment. The court had granted a similar application in December 2020. The former governor also sought an order that his international passport, which was deposited with the registrar of the court as part of the conditions for bail granted, should be released to him and returned to the court upon return from the trip. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, did not oppose the application, but Justice Chukwueku Eneke insisted that Fayose must be in court on the next adjourned dates of March the 18th and 19th for continuation of his trial. For 200 million naira, that's the amount a petitioner, Kingsley Kalu, is demanding from the police for the loss of his left leg as a result of an accidental discharge, allegedly from the rifle of one Daniel Akpabio of the FCT command. At the resumed sitting of the National Human Rights Commission Independent Investigation Panel in Abuja, the petitioner also demanded a refund of all his hospital expenses and the cost of his artificial limb, claiming the police only gave him 150,000 naira since the incident. But the lawyer to the police opposed the request for compensation, claiming that the right person to compensate the petitioner is the dismissed officer. The chairman of the panel, Justice Suleiman Galadima, has fixed March the 24, 2021 for the re-examination of the petitioner.
18th of October 2017, a police officer by name Daniel Akpabio had an accidental discharge and shot me. This happened less than 2 months after my wedding. And the result of that led to the amputation of my leg. Since then, life has not been easy. Of course, having lived over 30 years with 2 legs and have to cope with 1 leg, it has been very challenging and very difficult. That's why we came to the panel, and that's why we've read our prayers to the panel. Out of all the prayers we presented to the panel, the police have done one, which is the arrest and prosecution of the police officer. We have just been informed, or the police officer that shot me, we've just been informed by the representative of the police that the said police officer has been tried and discharged, and dismissed, which is one of the prayers we presented to the panel. So we also, since the police have started the good work already, we also implore them to finish what they've started, to attend to the other points on their prayers, which is a refund of my hospital bill. We spent millions. The receipt of the hospital bill has also been forwarded to the panel. I asked them for a refund of my hospital bill. I asked them for a prosthetic limb, for a reputable center, Ottobock in Germany. They are known for prosthetic limb. Ask for a prosthetic limb and a compensation of 200 million naira. And finally, I asked them to tender an apology in a national daily. Because what they did to me, this is a permanent disability. I was not born like this. Having to live the rest of my life with 1 leg is going to be challenging.
When the News at 10 returns, Senate to meet with Central Bank, Securities and Exchange Commission and the fintech community over cryptocurrency transactions. That's some business news. Please join us again.
Welcome back to the News at 10. Governor Godwin Obaseki has vowed to probe the 30 billion naira Benin stormwater project, saying those indicted over its management will be held liable. The project was initiated under former Governor Adams Oshomele's government, but Governor Obaseki has described it as fraud. The governor stated this during an inspection of the stormwater and other associated projects in Benin City, the Edo State capital.
Construction work in progress along Textile Mill Road, part of the Benin Stormwater Project. A project which was initiated by the immediate past government led by Mr. Adams Oshomele. The project was conceived to curb the menace of erosion in Benin City, the Edo State capital. 5 years on, the work is far from finished. Governor Godwin Obaseki is here to assess the current situation of things.
Now we are doing because too slow. You have to be out of here by September.
While the present administration pledges commitment towards completing the multi-billion naira projects for the benefit of the people, Governor Obaseki insists that the Benin Stormwater Project was never designed to work.
The so-called stormwater was just a fraud. It was a contract to defraud Edo people. Because from what I can see now, the design of the stormwater in this catchment was not meant to take water away. We spent almost 30 billion naira claiming that we want to take away the people's sufferings, that we wanted to deflood areas and restore value to their properties. Look at what has happened after 5 years.
The inspection continues with the Akenwa Road Rehabilitation Project. Here, there is assurance that the project is on schedule.
Now that we have this dry spell, we should get the contractors to move much faster on the pace of work. They have assured me that they will. Fortunately, the funding, the money for the project is already in the bank, and so we're just waiting for them to submit certificates and they get paid.
Most of the concrete works in Testami Road has been done, and the contractor is also very impressive. The Testami project will be completed between September and October this year.
The Edo State government says it will make the most of the clement weather now to complete ongoing construction works across the state as part of efforts to deliver its mandate of good governance to the people.
To legal matters now, a federal high court in Abuja has vacated the orders obtained by the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria in aid of Taiwo Lakano, the receiver manager it appointed to manage the assets of two seized companies owned by a businessman, Jimoh Ibrahim, over alleged 69 billion naira debt. The companies are Nikon Investment Limited and Global Fleet Oil and Gas Limited. Justice Okonabang, in a ruling, held that it was an order made without jurisdiction because there was a subsisting order by a court differently constituted on the matter. The judge held that AMCON misled the court by withholding material facts from the court to obtain an interim ex parte order. Justice Nkonye Maha of a federal high court, also in Abuja, had on January the 4th, 2021, granted AMCON an ex parte application. From there, let's take a look at some business news. Here's Anne Waudu.
Thanks a lot, Ijoma. Hello and welcome to Business News. The Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions is expected to meet with the leadership of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Securities and Exchange Commission and the fintech community on Tuesday over the recent ban on cryptocurrencies transaction in Nigeria. The resolution of the upper chamber is sequel to its consideration of a motion titled CBN's Decision to Stop Financial Institutions from Transacting in Cryptocurrencies and Matters Arising. On February the 5th, the CBN announced a ban on cryptocurrency-related transactions, while a representative of the International Monetary Fund recently backed its decision, citing concerns of money laundering and drug trafficking. But earlier, the financial market regulator had in January 2017 and February 2018 issued directives which warned banks not to use, hold, trade, and or transact in cryptocurrencies. The leadership of the National Assembly has met with the Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed over the implementation of the capital component of the 2020 budget, which was extended to March the 31st. This year. During the interaction, the Finance Minister disclosed that 30% implementation has already been achieved on the extended capital component of the 2020 budget.
It will be unreasonable to expect that the exchange rate at the NAFEX window will be the same as the exchange rate in the black market. But we do have to plan, and this is the monetary authorities that that are handling this, to plan to work as quickly as possible to close the gap that now is almost about 100 naira. On the fiscal side, it will be to our benefit because it means we'll be able to realize more naira that we'll be able to use to run the economy.
Investor sentiment at the domestic stock market remains negative from last week into this week and the start of the final week in the month of February. The intention continues to tilt towards the fixed income market. Let's hear the details from Ekaiti Afia.
Thanks for joining us for the Stock Market Report. Nigeria's stock market is gradually losing its status as the world's best performing stock market as it begins the final week of February with a sell-off which began since the start of the month. Well, there you have it. With that growl, the bear continues to defy expectations by analysts that it would go back to hibernation. And this time, it bit off 0.08% from the market's main index and more than 17 billion naira from the equities capitalization, which is currently few steps closer to the 20 trillion naira lower level. Now, traders attribute the continued drop on the equities market to the upward movement of yield in the fixed income market, which appears to be more attractive for some investors, and at the same time, exchange rate pressure as the naira trade at 410 against the dollar at the investors and exporters window on the forex market. Now, let's take a look at the activities chart. Volume of transactions carried out today stands over 289 million units in nearly 5,000 transactions, which is not too bad for the start of the week. I mean, it's just 4 days left for stocks trading within this month at the NSE, and with no clear sign of a rebound, we can only be hopeful for a last-minute rebound from bargain hunters. Well, that's all for the stock market report. I'm Akaite Afia.
And that's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Ijoma.
Thanks a lot, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, US to hold candlelight ceremony for the victims of COVID-19 pandemic as deaths from the virus hits 500,000 mark in the country. And more from our London studio in Around the World in 5. Please join us again. Welcome back. US President Joe Biden is leading the nation in a candlelight ceremony and a moment of silence as it reaches the grim milestone of 500,000 COVID-19 deaths, the highest in the world. Attending the ceremony tonight is First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff. The United States also has the highest number of COVID-19 cases in the world at more than 28 million. Here's Simon Pusey with more international stories in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The United Nations has urged Myanmar's military to halt repression and release hundreds of people detained since the coup.
End the violence, respect human rights and the will of the people.
The United States and the European Union have also warned they would take firm action against Myanmar's generals if they continue to crack down on people calling for the restoration of the country's elected government. Thousands of protesters have gathered in towns and cities despite the message from the junta that confrontation would cost more lives. Businesses have been shut in a general strike across Myanmar as the civil disobedience movement continues. Boeing has recommended to ground dozens of its 777 aircraft around the world after one of the jets suffered an engine failure. The US plane manufacturer has advised to temporarily suspend from the service the 777s that use a Pratt & Whitney 4000 engine. The warning comes after a flight from Denver to Honolulu carrying 231 passengers was forced to make an emergency landing after an engine failed shortly after takeoff. Debris from the jet was found scattered over a nearby residential area after it returned to Denver Airport. The US Federal Aviation Administration has issued a directive to inspect all the planes similar to the one involved in the incident. China has urged the United States to remove unreasonable tariffs on products and to stop suppressing Chinese companies and scientific development. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi outlined Beijing's vision for improving ties with the United States and said that Beijing stood ready to reopen constructive dialogue with the administration of President Biden. He also called on Washington to drop many of the confrontational measures adopted by Donald Trump. The Italian ambassador to the Democratic Republic of the Congo and a military policeman travelling with him have been killed in an attack on a United Nations convoy in eastern DRC.
Ho appena appreso da poche ore del vile attacco.
The Italian Foreign Ministry has said in a statement that Ambassador Luca Attanasio had been killed near the town of Kanyamahoro as part of a kidnap attempt. It is not clear yet who is behind the attack, as there is no immediate claim of responsibility. Mr. Attanasio had been Italy's head of mission in Kinshasa since 2017 and was made ambassador in 2019. Vote counting is continuing today in Niger's first democratic handover of power in the country's history. The vote on Sunday was marred by the death of 7 poll workers who were killed when their vehicles struck a landmine. The governing party's Mohamed Bazoum, former foreign and interior minister, secured 40% of the vote in the first round. His rival is former President Mahamadou Ousmane. Results are expected on Friday. All schools in England are to reopen on March the 8th as part of the Prime Minister's cautious four-part plan to ease lockdown restrictions. Boris Johnson shared his finalised roadmap with ministers in Parliament earlier today. Up to 6 people or 2 households will be allowed to meet outdoors from the 29th of March. Rules will then continue to be lifted in stages. The gap between each stage of restrictions being eased is expected to be 5 weeks. And finally, a 21-year-old has set a new world record as the youngest female to complete a solo row across the Atlantic Ocean. Jasmine Harrison has completed the approximately 3,000-mile journey from the Canary Islands to Antigua in the Caribbean in 70 days, 3 hours and 48 minutes.
I'm coming around.
Miss Harrison can be seen standing on the boat and celebrating with flares at the end of the odyssey she started back in December. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Amazing feat. Thanks a lot, Simon. On to some sports. Here's Olumide Macaulay.
Thank you, Ijoma. Hello and welcome to Sports News. And we start with football, where 2-time African champions Enyimba have been drawn in Group A of the CAF Confederation Cup. The People's Elephants will be up against the set of Algeria, Orlando Pirates of South Africa, and Al Ahly Benghazi of Libya. Action begins in the group phase on March the 10th, while the top 2 teams from each group will qualify for the knockout stage. Enyimba will begin their campaign in the group phase at home against Ali Benghazi in Aba. Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel expects tomorrow's UEFA Champions League last 16 first leg meeting with La Liga leaders Atletico Madrid to be a massive test of his team's mental strength. 7 games into his reign as Chelsea manager, he remains unbeaten, with the Londoners 5th in the Premiership and into the FA Cup quarterfinals. However, the German is aware he faces his biggest challenge yet against an Atletico side with loads of experience in knockouts Champions League ties under Diogo Simeone. Bayern Munich coach Hansi Flick says his team will be alert from the start of their UEFA Champions League last 16 first leg at Lazio to avoid the mistakes they made in their recent 2 Bundesliga games. Flick, who is missing several key players to injury or COVID-19 infections, needs some good news after seeing a 7-point lead in the Bundesliga slashed to 2 in less than a week. Bayern have won 6 titles in the past 9 months, but have stumbled in their last 2 matches. Meanwhile, up to 10,000 fans could be back in stadia by mid-May as part of the government's plans to move England out of lockdown after Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced a 4-part plan to lift the coronavirus lockdown. Outdoor sports, including football, golf and tennis, will be allowed to resume in England from March the 29th. The plan to ease lockdown requires 4 tests and vaccines, infection rates and new coronavirus variants to be met. That's it on Sports News. Ijoma, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Olumide. And the main news again. The battle of words today continued between the Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom and his Bauchi State counterpart Bala Mohammed over the farmer-herder crisis, as Governor Ortom accused his Bauchi State counterpart of terrorism and threats to his life. Also today, vocal Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi today spoke exclusively to Channels Television in Kaduna. He warned that Boko Haram may infiltrate killer herdsmen and bandits and asked the government to adopt dialogue to solve the security challenge. And the U.S. to hold candlelight ceremony for the victims of the COVID-19 pandemic today as deaths from the virus hit the 500,000 mark in the country. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Do have a good night.